So I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but somewhat seriously. How about some tariffs on Hollywood? That's the subject of the riff. Now, stay with me. Last week's numbers showed how resilient the American economy truly is. Business investment is booming. Consumers continue to spend. Jobs are outperforming. One of the big themes emerging is a smaller role for the federal government and a much larger role for private business investment. All good. You could say entrepreneurs 10, federal bureaucrats 0. You could say that. Not everything in the world is a function of tariffs, by the way, even though the lefty media would have you believe that. For example, outsized imports were front-running potential tariffs, yes, but the 22% surge in business investment, which showed up in GDP, and almost the same number showed up in the industrial production report released by the Federal Reserve. That is all domestic equipment production, all of it. Nothing to do with tariffs or imports. The moral of the story is how private investment responds to incentives. President Trump is re-incentivizing the private sector with 100% bonus depreciation, retroactive to January 20, for not only business equipment machinery, but building new factories as well. Plus, there's a 15% corporate tax for Made in America production. How about that? These are huge incentives that are already reigniting private business. And by the way, if you produce in America, you don't have to worry about tariffs, as the president always says. And when you reignite private business, you are reigniting profits and job creation and higher productivity and real wages. And all this is tied up in the reconciliation bill, which is moving through Congress. We'll have Senate Majority Leader John Thune here in a few moments to give us an update. The stock market has recovered. It's another good sign. Sometimes Mr. Trump talks about short-term disappointments, but I don't think that's necessary. I think the entrepreneurs are already moving to take advantage of the re-incentivized supply side of the economy sponsored by President Trump and his policies. Now, of course, a couple trade deals would help the economic growth story move ahead even more. We'll get an update from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in a moment. With countries like Japan and India, South Korea, Vietnam, it could be on the front burner of potential deals. Who knows? Maybe even some news on all that this week. But any deals, of course, have to be great deals. Mr. Trump's policy of reciprocal fair trade aims to level the playing field, and he's right about that. Now, I'll make two brief last points regarding tariffs and deals. First, we must remember that China never adhered or lived up to the Phase 1 deal of January 2020. Never. And the flow of precursor fentanyl materials continues unabated, according to the experts. Finally, Mr. Trump is talking about 100% tariffs on movies not made in America. I guess, especially not made in Hollywood. And I know my friend John Voight is working on all that. He's a wonderful man. But the idea of protecting Hollywood is, well, gee, kind of seems like not a good idea. Or maybe President Trump really means he wants to tariff Hollywood until they put some decent movies out. But that's probably the subject of another riff at another time.